This was a test garlic. Since I grew quite a bunch, I wasn't really worried about pulling one ahead of time and seeing how it went. And it's super small. That is super duper small. So, I mean, there's definitely discernible cloves here, but they're all super small. So, we'll see. Took that guy from the very far back. So, that was always destined to sort of be one of the weakest ones. So, soon we shall see how the big kahunas are doing. Alright, so this might look like the plant has died. The plant is not dead. In fact, when the neck breaks, that's when you know it's time to go ahead and harvest. And you've got about 2 weeks to do so before new sprouts begin appearing. Well, there we go. That's our onion. What's out there? What do you see? What do you see out there? A little bit of sad news. I had to deadhead that pumpkin bloom. Unfortunately, it matured while it was still closed and then started to basically rot. So this was never going to become a pumpkin, apparently. My theory is that it got like kind of burnt at the top of the flowers, which sort of locked it shut. So when it tried to bloom, it stayed shut, and I missed the window of opportunity. This thing is doing nuts. Absolutely nuts. Some of these leaves have yellowed due to some really intense heat waves, but I'm gonna leave them on until they become diseased. Kind of like that guy. He might have to go. But otherwise, still just voraciously taking off. This is unreal. This is the biggest plant I've ever grown, and it's probably a third of the way done. So I've already been trimming. So, okay, for reference point, the tip of the vine is called the growth point, right? So those are the two main ones. They were originally growing out this way towards the sun. Problem is, I have a guy who comes here and cuts the grass and wouldn't give two shits if he cut my plant in half. So I've had to curve it manually with these stakes, and that's why I'm sort of letting the vines grab onto them. See, like this guy over here, held in place by a stake, and I've been cutting off the other growth points to direct it that way, because I'm not going to be upset if these plants get all the way onto the patio and then my pumpkin sits on the concrete. I'll be pretty happy about that, actually. So probably will be trimming this growth point soon as well. Sorry, my friend, you're going to have to go because you are growing towards the lawnmower. The third thing hanging here on my my pull-up bar is my homemade squash vine borer repellent. The squash vine borer, as you may remember from the previous gardening year, is our arch nemesis. It is the Joker to my Batman in the garden. The squash vine borer will burrow into the base stem of whatever squash family plant you have, be that pumpkins, cucumbers, watermelons, actual squash themselves. And last year they threatened my cucumbers for a solid 2 months because, I'm not gonna lie, this plant here is probably some of the highest stakes I've had yet in my 2 years of gardening. I really, really want a pumpkin. Everybody's looking very lush. That's the tomatillo bee plant. It's doing really well. You can see flowering quite a bit. Depending on whether it's that one, this one, or this one, whichever cayenne pepper proves to look the sturdiest and strongest, I'm putting my money on this guy. I will overwinter him as well, and then he'll have a buddy. He'll have a buddy this hibernation season. And for my cayenne peppers, I'm finally letting them, bud up, and then hopefully we get blooms in the next, 10 days or so, and At that point, it'll just take about 2 months for them to mature, maybe 3. By that time, this onion will have reached pretty much its maximum shelf life, and so roughly two and a half to 3 months before I get this salsa verde started. These tomatoes are probably going to reach the 3rd ring before what I estimated, which was 10 days, like 3 days ago. I'm gonna go ahead and guess now that we're about 2 days away with this one, and then this one may still need about a week. Probably got just extra leaves in general over here, to be honest with you. The sun's not going to reach that. The sun won't reach that either. I had to deadhead the pumpkin, unfortunately. I mean, it wasn't a pumpkin yet, it wasn't pollinated, but it did have to go. None of my male flowers were ready at the time, although this guy finally almost is. I don't know if you can tell, but I actually trimmed off a bunch of lower branches on both of my tomatoes. If the mulch is to get blown away on a windy day and it rains hard, it'll splash the dirt up onto the bottom of the branches, and tomatoes are highly susceptible to soil-borne diseases. Don't know exactly what that is, but it's coming off of only one of my garlics. I seriously don't know what it is. I want to say it's bolting, but I've never seen a bolting onion or bolting garlic before. This guy right here is going to be a catnip flower.